Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. On today's show, we're talking about the work-from-home trend that the pandemic seems to have amplified. Long before the pandemic, the warning signs were there in many industries. And on today's show, we're going to take a closer look at one company that was formed purely with the assumption of 0 bricks and mortar locations for the entire company. That company was EXP Realty, now a public company that has nearly 40,000 agents in the company. It was formed in 2009 and has been slowly, quietly building to create a breakout transformation of the industry. If you consider that each employee in a traditional company would allocate anywhere between 200 to 300 square feet per employee, the annual cost of office space, at even $30 a square foot gross, is about $6,000 per employee. And for a company with 40,000 employees, that could be as much as $240 million a year in just real estate costs. It's a real saving of hard cash that could be better put towards creating a more competitive company. The fact is, almost every real estate broker or agent has a home office, or at times a mobile office. What they need are strong systems. They need to be in the field with clients. The incredible part of the EXP story is that they've been able to scale much more quickly than most other companies. The effort to onboard a single employee is much greater when they need to have physical space, a physical desk. The company's growing fast. Last year, over the past couple of years, the company grew from $500 million in revenue in 2018 to $980 million in 2019 and $1.46 billion in 2020. Imagine if the company had a bricks and mortar footprint. Would they have achieved that growth in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic? From the perspective of agents who are used to working in a traditional brokerage, one of the top points of contention is the commission structure, the splits with the brokerage, the transaction fees, the desk fees, and the office politics associated with the traditional office. The folks at EXP designed a place that would be an agent's dream. They focused on making the workplace fully agent-centric. They give producers the incentive of additional income through revenue sharing and the option of acquiring shares in the company for meeting production criteria. All agents receive financial benefits for helping to grow the brokerage, not just for selling houses. In a traditional brokerage, agents are limited to a narrow single location. Now, starting agents get an 80-20 commission split on the first $80,000, and then they get to keep 100% of every sale above that amount. The transaction fees are much lower than virtually any other bricks and mortar brokerage. Now, I'm not a real estate agent. I don't want to be a real estate agent. I love that some people like that role, but it's nothing I ever want to do. It's simply not me. And I'm not recommending EXP as a company to do business with. I'm pointing out that they've created a brand new model that has turned the industry on its head, and it's created some advantages from this one perspective. The point of this episode is to highlight that a business that's all about real estate has 0 real estate. I mean, think about it. That's a pretty strong contradiction in terms for some people anyway. It might be ironic for others, but they own no real estate, and they're a real estate company. This is not something that just happens. In order for a company to grow to 40,000 strong, they require strong systems. It's a little bit like McDonald's. When Ray Kroc bought the original McDonald's locations from the McDonald brothers, he didn't focus on making a better hamburger. He focused on the systems and processes that would allow the business to scale. The systems would have to be strong enough to allow a Big Mac to taste the same in Tokyo or Tasmania, in Santiago or San Francisco. The systems would need to be strong enough to allow McDonald's location earning millions of dollars in revenue to be run by an 18-year-old. And that means an emphasis on training and onboarding of new staff, on having systems for routine transactions, and more importantly, for having systems for managing exceptions. After all, why do we need physical offices? Some would say you need the physical proximity for training. Well, that's not strictly true. Some would say that you need to be able to walk down the hall and ask the boss a question when you have a problem. Well, that's not true either. You need a place to store all your files for security. Well, yeah, you do, but nothing says that that file storage has to be centralized. And if you have an electronic system of record storage, the data center is going to be internet connected anyway. See, real estate as a business is hyperlocal, and being an agent or a broker in a particular area is hyperlocal. But the business of operating a brokerage is actually geographically independent. You need to localize certain forms to comply with local regulations, but the steps involved in a transaction are basically the same the world over. So the question remains, how many other industries could be virtualized? Does a law office need to have a physical office? Does an accounting firm need to have a bricks and mortar location? How about an insurance business? Maybe a stock brokerage or a bank needs a physical location. Well, so far none of these truly require physical locations for the vast majority of their staff. So the death of the office will be partial and it'll be slow, but the shift to home office for many workers will be permanent this year. And if you're owning an office building or considering purchasing one, it's fair to say that the design of these spaces is probably going to need to change. And if you're designing homes for families, it's fair to say that these need to change as well when you take the home office into account as a true priority and not as an afterthought. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.